everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot of volleyball to discuss, such as Loyola Chicago. They pulled off the upset against number 2 Hawaii. How did the Bows do it, and what did they need to do in order to take down the Bows on the road? Also, how about Lewis taking down Stanford on the road in straight sets? The MIVA is on one, and I am all for it. Also, how about Alba upsetting George Mason? But George Mason might have lost a little bit more than just that match. Also, we had the Orlando Valkyries and Omaha Supernovas kicking off this season. And we also had LOVD happening as we had LOVD Austin pulling off 2 wins, including a thriller over LOVD Nebraska. Also, the VLA happened this past week. Who was able to win the West Cup? Mania Volleyball, SetNet, genre trivia volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on iSports Radio, your feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 333 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without iSports Radio providing the platform to go live on YouTube and on X. Please do follow iSports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, TikTok, and Instagram. Also, subscribe to iSports Radio on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. With your help, we could definitely try to make 500 subscribers. We're really trying to push to that goal, so definitely do subscribe. Also, our website just relaunched, so definitely check that out. It has my show as well as other shows dedicated to all major sports around the country as well. For the last 11 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for all of your patience and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. A huge shout to our 2 sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Vital Apparel. So without any further delay, let's get on in to what our sponsors are all about. I will see you all in a little bit.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other fill-in like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing sponsors and also check out all of our shows. And definitely check out the website. It is brand spanking new and better than ever. And thank you to everyone for all of your support for IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Like I said, the Wake Fall Set Point or IE Sports Radio is on X, TikTok, and Instagram at IE Sports Radio, and also subscribe to them on YouTube or subscribe to us on YouTube. The way you can follow Set Point on social media is on X and TikTok at set_point.ie. You can also follow me personally at Teran Rodriguez 1. You could also follow Set Point on Instagram at set_point.iesr. And yes, I did remember to post on TikTok as well. I posted right before I went live, so I kind of posted my week 2 content. There wasn't much happening in week 1 in terms of NCAA men's volleyball, but I digress. But that's how you could follow Set Point on social media as well. Once again, X and TikTok at set_point.ie and on Instagram at set_point.iesr. So without any further delay, let's get on into the volleyball action as Brian Francione pops in the chat room. He says, "Good evening, Teran." Thank you, Brian, for popping in. I appreciate you. All right, now let's get on into that volleyball action. So we're actually going to kick things off with some NCAA men's volleyball. And week 2 of the NCAA men's volleyball season was something else. It was really fun. And, oh, man, we finally got some upsets happening as a lot of good teams played. Well, practically everyone started to play as the season pretty much began, like I said, last Monday when UMES took down Puerto Rico Rio Piedras in 5 for their first ever win in program history. On Tuesday, we had number 10 UC San Diego take down Jessup in 4. So Jessup is a new team from the MPSF. They're actually pretty solid. So first 2 sets were pretty much, I wouldn't say all UC San Diego. I mean, second set kind of looked like it was going to go Jessup's way, but the Tritons were able to pull it together. Third set went to Jessup, but then the fourth set, UC San Diego was able to take it. As I will also just say, spoiler alert, last week I did make note that the NCAA had not updated their men's volleyball score tracker website, but now they have. Thank you, NCAA. Finally, you're doing something good. Anyway, Josh Ewert led the way for UC San Diego with 17 kills. They got 15 kills from Leo Pravednikov, and Sebastiano Sani added 11 kills. He also had 9 digs. As a team, the Tritons hit 315, and they also had 6 blocks, and they had 35 digs. So for Jessup, they did not have one player in double digits with kills, but they had some solid players. Carter Depew led the way with 9 kills. I actually covered him back in junior college. They also got 8 kills from Clement Osahan Jr. They got 7 kills each from Owen Henning and Jan Lopuch. And then they got 6 kills from Jacob Knudsen. For Jessup, look, it wasn't really the greatest season opener. They also missed 16 serves and only had 1 ace, whereas UC San Diego, they missed 20 serves. Yeah, you're going to be seeing a lot of service errors when it comes to NCAA men's volleyball. And they had 3 service aces. But back to Jessup, they blocked the ball really well, actually. They had 11.5 blocks. So technically, they did actually outblock UC San Diego by quite a bit, outblocking them 11.5 to 6. Only problem is that UC San Diego has a lot of good talent on their team. So unfortunately for the Warriors, they just could not win. But it is what it is. Sometimes it just happens. So that was actually a good little battle right there. So great job to both teams. Now jumping to Thursday. Okay, nothing against it, but there wasn't too much that happened. Every match was practically decided in a sweep. You had UC Santa Barbara sweeping Kentucky State. UC Irvine swept Harvard, which I actually thought was going to go at least 4. But Irvine's an interesting team. They're running at 6-2. Now, this one, I think, kind of puzzled some people, but it didn't really puzzle me all that much. CSUN beat Maryville in 4. Now, Maryville is from Missouri. They're from the Great Lakes Valley Conference, new conference this season. But CSUN was able to take them down in 4. Everyone was wondering why CSUN dropped that third set. All the sets were pretty close. The CSUN won the first set 25-23. Second set was a little bit more breathing room for CSUN, won at 25-20. Third set went to Maryville 25-23. And then fourth set, CSUN won at 25-21. As the Matadors were led by Jalen Phillips, who had 15 kills, but he also had some backup. He had Hank Kaufman adding 14 kills. João Avila added 9 kills. Got to remember that Stilian Delibosov is not playing. He's apparently out for the season. So I expect CSUN to kind of take a step backward. If they had Stilian, I think they could actually do better or do good things. But I'm just not fully sold on CSUN. And that's no disrespect to Theo Edwards. He's a fantastic coach. Unfortunately, he's just in a sticky situation following the graduation of Donovan Constable and not having Stilian Delibosov. But CSUN did hit 318. They only had 3 aces to 19 service errors, and they only had 5 blocks and 37 digs. Meanwhile, for Maryville, they had 6 blocks as a team, which was pretty good. They outblocked CSUN by 1. They had 5 aces, but missed 22 serves. They were led by Mackay Scott and Aiden White Mountain, all-time name. Both had 10 kills. Unfortunately, it was just not enough, as Maryville gave it their all. And they're an interesting team. I think the Great Lakes Valley Conference is going to be a very fun conference. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. And then also, yeah, that was it. And then I actually want to look at the UC Irvine match just because UCI actually was pretty good. I knew Harvard was going to struggle in their first match on the road, but also I expected Irvine to kind of be the strong team that most people thought we would expect. The top 5 team that we all expected, as they're led by Andre Jokanovic, who had 13 kills. He's only a freshman, and his freshman debut could not have gone any better. UC Irvine hit 379 as a team. They had 6 service aces. They also blocked the ball really well. They had 11 blocks. They ran a 6-2, like I mentioned, as their new setters are Aiden Rigg and Cameron Costi. And in case you're wondering, yes, that is the son of John Costi, the head coach of Stanford men's volleyball. That's going to be a fun little storyline-filled match when Stanford goes to town when they face UC Irvine, but I digress. Meanwhile, for Harvard, they were led by Sawyer Nichols, who had 6 kills, while Quinn Bishop added 5 kills. Long story short, it was just not the day for Harvard, as they only hit 55. So that's just how it is, and Irvine proved why they were a top a top 5 team. And then also on Thursday, we had this late night matchup. We had Hawaii sweeping number 2 Hawaii sweeping number 7 Loyola Chicago. And most people are kind of slammed Chicago for this. I guess that people thought that Loyola was going to have a better night than this, but y'all got to remember, this was their first match of the season, and Hawaii really took them to the shed as Hawaii prevented Loyola from scoring 20 points in all 3 of the sets. And people are saying, oh, well, Loyola, this was a little disappointing on Loyola's behalf, but again, Loyola just started their season. They're still trying to figure things out. And Hawaii is such a tough place to win at. Stan Sheriff Center is so tough to win at. As the Bows were led by Kristen Tatrisky, who had 11 kills. Adrian Rohr added 8 kills. Hawaii hit 426, and they had 7 service aces. They also held Loyola to 0 service aces, though Loyola did block the ball really well. They had 9 blocks, as Daniel Fabakovic led the way for the Ramblers, who had 11 kills. But again, it was just a night of getting the cobwebs off of them, which it's totally understandable. And that was that for all of the Thursday night matchups. Well, early Friday matchups if you're on the East Coast. But jumping to Friday, we had this little matchup right here. Number 15 McKendree at number 1 UCLA. UCLA did sweep McKendree. It was McKendree's first match. Well, UCLA also had their first match, but the only difference is that McKendree had to go out west. The Bruins were led by Zach Rama, who had 16 kills, while David Decker added 10 kills. Apparently, Decker is playing opposite this year, which is quite fascinating. So I guess they don't want Sean Kelly on the right side. They just want him playing outside, which I think is pretty good. Their new libero is Chris Connolly, who transferred from Long Beach State. He had 9 digs, which was pretty good if you ask me. So they no longer have to throw Luca Curci at the libero position. He is actually, his primary position's outside hitter, but with all the depth that the Bruins have at the pins, it's going to be tough for him to try to win a spot. But hopefully he does, knock on wood. Anyway, Michael Wong Diallo added 5 kills on 6 swings. He was pretty solid. Cam Thorne had 7 kills. Overall, it was just a great night for UCLA. They had 533. They had 6 service aces. Even though they had 18 service errors, they had 7.5 blocks. And they held McKendree to less than 200. McKendree hit 194 as they were led by Tyler Tripp, who had 10 kills. Nice little, I'll tell you about Tyler Tripp a little bit later. But McKendree only missed 7 serves, but they only had 3 aces, and they had 5.5 blocks. Again, their next kill leader after Tripp was Bryce Wetjen, who had 7 kills, but that was pretty much that for McKendree. Again, they were going to have a tough time beating the likes of UCLA on the road, but Nikki Salin is not afraid to schedule those type of matches. She wants all the smoke when it comes to facing these talented opponents. Jumping to the 5-6-2, we had number 3 Long Beach State hosting Lindenwood. So the first match in the Nick McCray era and in the tile defense of the Beach as they swept Lindenwood, though people are kind of judging Long Beach State for this. I mean, Long Beach State won the sets 25-21, 25-16, and 25-20. Some are saying that this wasn't a dominant effort. Well, here's the thing. Long Beach State has so much depth, they can afford to shuffle around everything. Their kill leaders were Skylar Varga and Alex Kondev, both having 9 kills. They also got 6 kills from Wojciech Gajek. The bottom line is Long Beach State had so much depth. Jake Pizzanti was solid at his first official start at setter. He had 24 assists to go along with 3 digs as well as 4 blocks. He also had 2 kills as well. The Beach hit 338. Now, unfortunately, I didn't go to this match as unfortunately I had a job I needed to do, but I kind of figured Long Beach State was going to win this matchup. For Lindenwood, they were led by Luke Kraft, who had 7 kills. But the next kill leader was Amir Grant and Brendan Luthane, both having 5 kills. Overall, by the way, Lindenwood was held to a hitting percentage of a big fat donut. So, unfortunately, it was just one tough day at the office for the Lions. But that was pretty much that for some of the notable matchups on Friday. There was also CSUN taking down Harvard in 4. That was a pretty good win. Ball State, well, even though CSUN I think is kind of, I still expect CSUN to take a step back. And then Maryville took a set off UC Santa Barbara, which I think Maryville is much better than what most of us expect. Then we also had Ball State taking down Missouri S&T in 4, with Ryan Lewis having a 25-kill game. I think he's the first player in NCAA men's volleyball to have a 20-plus kill performance. I could be wrong about that, but it is what it is. And then Penn State took down Mount Olive in 4. Not too surprising right there. Number 13 Penn State took down Mount Olive in 4. Lincoln Memorial, number 20 Lincoln Memorial swept King. Lewis swept Menlo. BYU, number 8 BYU swept St. Francis. Number 12 Lewis swept Menlo. Need to correct that. UC Irvine swept Kentucky State. Not surprising there. Number 10 UC San Diego took down Damon in 4. So a lot of matches that UC San Diego had this past week. So not too surprising if they have a case of tired legs, because they also had the North American Challenge. So you had that right there. But closing off Friday, we had this amazing matchup. We had number 7 Loyola Chicago taking down number 2 Hawaii on the road in 4. Now, I commented this on Instagram on someone else's page. I said, I don't think we got the full version that we expected of Loyola Chicago. I think we got the shaking off the cobwebs and rust version of Loyola. This version of Loyola that played on Friday was so different. Loyola jumped out to a 6-point lead. I think they led 17-11 in the first set. And it was I was really surprised that Loyola was just playing so darn good, especially on the road. But Hawaii did try to make a little bit of a comeback, but Hawaii just missed one too many serves, and Loyola had one too many aces for Hawaii's liking, as the Ramblers took set 1, 25-23. Second set, Loyola went up 22-21. It was a tight set for the most part. Eventually, Loyola took the second set 25-22, and they were up 2-0 on Hawaii. And then the third set, this one, I think they were up 19-12, and it was looking pretty grim. I think a lot of the fans at the Stan Sheriff Center actually left early, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something you never really see. But, and it wasn't even that full. It was like 5,000-ish in attendance, which for a top 10 matchup, I kind of expect that to be a little bit more bigger. But again, maybe Hawaii is, we're all still trying to get used to Hawaii, and it's still basketball season. So eventually, the bigger matchups will be coming, especially in the Outrigger Invitational. Anyway, Hawaii actually dodged a match point as well as being down 7, and they took that third set 26-24, and it felt like Hawaii had momentum. The fourth set, Loyola needed 5 match points to eventually defeat the Bows in 4. I was just flabbergasted. It was a really good win for Loyola Chicago, but you all got to remember something. Loyola did beat Hawaii 2 years ago on the second night against Hawaii, and that was a legendary matchup. And also, this is the first, I guess, Hawaii had a 16-match win streak when it came to the month of January, snapped, which dated all the way back to that same 2024 year when Loyola beat Hawaii. Anyway, Loyola was led by Alexander Sosa, who had 19 kills. He had 378. He is a transfer from Quincy, and he really made his mark. They also got 11 kills from Daniel Fabakovic. This was the unsung hero, Jake Reed. I, who used to cover Jake Reed, am so proud of him. I knew he would make a difference. I think it was just a matter of him being in the rotation and not as a complimentary player. So 8 digs, 8 kills, 1 service ace, 3 blocks. Jake Reed was a difference maker. He was one of the difference makers. JJ Sawa, the libero for Loyola Chicago, another player from my neck of the woods. He had 14 digs. Ryan McElligott had 40 assists to go along with 11 digs. So Loyola as a team, they hit 231. They had 8 service aces. They blocked the ball really well. They had a whopping 15 and a half blocks compared to Hawaii's 10 and a half. So my takeaway for Loyola is this. This is a very dangerous team, and this was the Loyola team we all expected. And Shane Davis really has his team on the up and up. Man, I really wish I could be seeing Loyola this week due to the fact that they're playing at the First Point Collegiate Challenge. But unfortunately, I am not. As my boy Marcus, Los Great pops in the chat room, he says, salute to you too, sir. Speaking of Phoenix, Arizona, Marcus pops into the chat room as soon as I talk a little about the First Point Collegiate Challenge being in Phoenix, Arizona. But back to Loyola versus Hawaii. So Hawaii was led by Luis Sakanoko, who had 18 kills. He had 12 digs. Kristen Tatrisky had 16 kills. However, this is a big however, he did actually exit the third set, and in his place was Kainoa Wade, who had 4 kills, and he was magic at the service line. This kid was something special. And also, he's the son of Charlie Wade, head coach of Hawaii. But yeah, Kristen Tatrisky kind of left with a back injury I think it was either lower back injury. Unfortunately, he just could not keep up. Unfortunately, he cannot stay in, which really sucks because I thought he was pretty solid. But Kainoa Wade is someone that can really step up as well. He's normally the serving sub, but Tatrisky he just needed to come out. Then they also got 50 assists from Teran Rosenthal, along with 7 digs and 4 blocks. As a team, Hawaii hit 254, while Loyola hit 231. So my takeaway, I need to also mention Quentin Greenidge added 13 digs. Also, Adrian Rohr had 9 kills and 9 digs. So my takeaway for Hawaii is this. It's early in the season. Let's not hit the panic button. Hawaii will be just fine. For everyone saying that Hawaii is in trouble, Hawaii needs to panic, stop. It's only week 2 of the NCAA men's volleyball season. You also got to remember that they don't have Roman Payne, who's out due to injury, and then Kristen Tatrisky is out. They need to get him healthy. Travell Jordan also didn't play as well. So we all got to slow our roll here. I am not concerned. And my rule of thumb, the set point rule of thumb is this. It's better to lose matches now than to lose them in conference play or in the postseason. That is the true rule of thumb, because you can afford to lose sometime in the regular season. But when it comes postseason time, or when it truly matters, you can't afford to lose that, because it's not like they lost to Long Beach State twice, or UC Irvine twice, or UC San Diego twice, or CSUN twice, or UC Santa Barbara twice. They lost to Loyola, and Loyola is a top 10 team for a good reason. And there's a reason why they made the NCAA tournament last year, because of gameplay like that. So let's all just slow our roll here. Let's not dig the grave of Hawaii just yet. They just need a little bit of a get-right matchup, a few little get-right matchups. And their next true test will be against Stanford on the road. I think it's going to be their first road trip of the season. So hopefully for their sake, they'll be ready for that. But we shall see. Jumping over to Saturday, and speaking of the MIVA, we had another MIVA upset. We had number 12 Lewis taking down number 9 Stanford in straight sets. Yes, the Flyers broke out the brooms in Maples Pavilion, sweeping Stanford 30-28, 25-21, and 25-22. The Flyers were led by Dejan Todorov and Osan Oz, both having 12 kills. Daniel Haber added 10 kills for the Flyers as Lewis hit 355. They also had 11 blocks, and they held Stanford to just only 2.5 blocks. 2.5 blocks. Man, Stanford's not going to be winning a lot of these matches if they have that number. Though it looks like they kind of shuffled their lineup, and they had Ryan Gant setting, they had Theron Briette setting. Either they're running 6-2 or something is not right. Anyway, but Moses Wagner led the way for Stanford with 12 kills. They also got 5 kills from Teo Snui and 7 kills from Alex Rotman. It is so great to see Alex Rotman back on the court. He missed all of last year, which really sucks, but now he is back with a vengeance, and that just makes Stanford even more deadlier, even though it's not a word, but even more deadly. But my takeaway for Lewis is this. They're kind of an under-the-radar team. I think now that they posted that upset, they're not going to be taken lightly by any means. They've got some really good players. And those players that I just mentioned, those are their pin hitter weapons. For Stanford, this is interesting just because they returned all their players from last year, but they wound up losing to Lewis, who is not a bad team by any means, but losing on their home floor. It could be because Stanford was rusty. This was their first match of the season. You also got to remember that Lewis had a match before they played Stanford. They played Menlo the day before they played Stanford. So they had a match under their belt. So we kind of can give Stanford a little pass, or at least I can. But Stanford, you better watch out, just because I'm watching y'all. Don't be disappointing me. I think they are a diamond in the rough team, but losses like that don't do them any favors. Anyway, so moving on to Saturday's matchup between McKendree and Long Beach State. So I was at this matchup. I had the full honor of being in attendance for number 15 McKendree at number 3 Long Beach State. There was only one teensy problem. The match wasn't live streamed. So I don't know why they're not streaming this matchup. I mean, maybe I don't know. It's like a budget issue, but let's stop whining about it, because that's not going to change anything. Long Beach State took on McKendree in the battle of two top 15 teams. Long Beach State did sweep McKendree, but the Beach had to work for this match, especially in sets 1 and 2. Like, McKendree got the lead all the way down to 1. Like, they trailed for a good majority of the set. They were within 1 at 22-21, but the Bearcats just could not reach the Beach, as the Beach ended the set on a service ace from Alex Kondev. And like I said, this is what I'm talking about in terms of depth. Long Beach State has so much depth on their team that Alex Kondev didn't even play the whole match. Now, the second set, McKendree actually led 16-13. They were starting to prove why they had such an amazing year last year, even though they lost a good chunk of their roster to graduation. But Long Beach State battled back. They actually needed to dodge 8 set points, and they needed 3 set points, but eventually they won set 2 off of a hitting error from McKendree, winning it 35-33. I kid you not. Long Beach State won set 2 by a score of 35-33. I thought that set was never going to end, but eventually it did. And then in set 3, it was pretty much all Long Beach State. They got off to such a fast start, courtesy of Skylar Vargas' strong serving. McKendree, I think losing that second set kind of gassed McKendree, as eventually Long Beach State wound up winning the third set 25-16 on a walk-off block from Daniil Hershtanovich. Long Beach State was led by Daniil Hershtanovich. He had 12 kills, only 1 hitting error, and 9 digs. The Beach also got 9 kills from Skylar Varga, along with 11 digs and 7 service aces, and he had 5 assists. So this man was stuffing the stat sheet and then some. And he also had 4 blocks as well. That's kind of the reason why I put him in my starting rotation. Long Beach State also got 7 kills from Ben Braun and Alex Kondev. Again, Kondev only played 2 sets, but Long Beach State was able to shuffle their lineup. So Kondev probably could have returned, but they wanted to spread the love to some of the other players on the team, like Connor Bloom. So there was that right there. Jackson Christ also had a solid game, 4 kills as well as 3 blocks. As a team, Long Beach State hit 360, but McKendree hit 250. For a team that lost in straight sets, I thought McKendree was pretty good. And that second set could have gone either way. I mean, if there's ever a set that McKendree would want back, it's that second set. If they took that second set, the entire volleyball world would have gone crazy. And this match almost lasted 2 hours. A 3-set match almost lasted 2 hours. Normally 3-set matches last about 90 minutes, but McKendree made Long Beach State work for that first and second set, as the Bearcats were led by Tyler Tripp, who had 14 kills and 11 digs. They also got 12 kills from Bryce Wetjen. They got 8 kills from Sam Hoskin, as well as 10 digs. Nate Flater had 10 digs to go along with 33 assists. Nice little story about Tyler Tripp. He didn't play last year. He didn't know if he was going to be back this year, but he is back, and he is the best thing for this McKendree team. That's what Nikki Sandlin told me in my post-game interview with her. Definitely do check it out. It was such an honor meeting Nikki Sandlin in person. Y'all got to remember that she was named the AVCA Coach of the Year, and this McKendree team wound up winning 20 matches last season, and they had won, I think, 12. This was like the most in their 12-year tenure, which I thought was pretty awesome. So McKendree is definitely going to be a tough out for a lot of teams, and the whole MIVA is going to be a tough gauntlet to go through in terms of conference play. So I was very impressed by McKendree. I think that Long Beach State obviously won. Everyone is saying that they weren't as dominant, but why do we all got to expect Long Beach State to be dominant? Like, why do we got to expect Long Beach State to spank every opponent big time? What happened to a win is a win? Like, they wound up winning in 3. So I think this is kind of, I would say, annoying, but it's like, come on, give Long Beach State some credit. They battled back from 8 set points in that second set, and the fact that they won, but they're still getting flack, is a little puzzling. But I digress. Anyway, but that was that for Saturday's notable matchups, and then Sunday was. Everyone thought that Sunday was all for the NFL. No, there was actually some notable matchups. So this matchup was Fort Valley State taking on Queens of the MIVA. So Queens is a school from North Carolina. I actually got to interview Roger Peluso, their head coach, over the phone 2 days ago, as I'm going to be doing an article about Queens. He got his first win of the season the day before, which was pretty good. But against Fort Valley State, the Wildcats wound up taking down Queens in 4 sets, 19-25, 25-20, 25-23, and 25-17. Fort Valley State was led by the Isaiah Fed, who had 18 kills. He hit 406 and he had 7 digs. Tavion Martin added 9 kills. As a team, Fort Valley State hit 362, and they held Queens to only hitting percentage of 239, which wasn't bad. Queens, on the other hand, they're led by Chance Champagne, who had 9 kills. I also got to interview him as well. Casey Moss added 8 kills. They also got 7 kills from Connor Dell. So Fort Valley State winning this matchup was actually their first win against a Division I program. So most of their wins were against, not Division I program, Division I school. So most of their wins were against Division II schools, or all their wins were against Division II schools in their tenure. But against Queens, that is their first win over a Division I school, which I think is pretty darn incredible, if you ask me. So great job to Fort Valley State. I actually do want to backtrack to Saturday, as there was a match that is not showing up. Yeah, here it is. Catawba. So Catawba, this is another interesting school. So Catawba is from North Carolina, I believe. And either way, Catawba did not have a ranked win before they played the likes of George Mason, number 19 George Mason. So yeah, it is. Catawba is from North Carolina, or it's in North Carolina. So they're from Salisbury, North Carolina. But against George Mason, they actually wound up taking down George Mason in a 5-set barn burner, 20-25, 25-22, 23-25, 25-22, and 15-12. So I'm actually going to fast forward it to set number 5. So set 5, Catawba actually fell behind 5. I think it was 4-0, 5-0. And on that 4th or 5th point that George Mason scored, the worst thing happened to them. Their best player, Liam French, went down with a non-contact injury. I really don't want to speculate that it was an ACL injury. I'm hoping it's not a knee injury, because that would really suck, because he's a redshirt senior, and that would suck if he missed his final year of eligibility. But eventually Catawba was down 7-2 in set number 5, but then they worked their way back. They went on an 8-1 run to lead 10-8. George Mason winds up scoring the next 2 points, and Catawba winds up winning 5 of the last 7 points to win the 5th set, which was just unbelievable. So Catawba was led by John Cadre, who had 19 kills. They also got 10 kills from Justin Arrowwood. As a team, Catawba hit 250. They also had 7 service aces. Even though they missed 27 serves, they also got 10 and a half blocks as a team, whereas George Mason only got 6 blocks. They missed 23 serves, and they had 4 service aces, as Liam French led the way with 15 kills. Yet I feel bad for the fella, just because who knows what could have happened had he not gotten injured. But I digress. Robert Evangelista added 14 kills, as George Mason hit 269 as a team. Oh man, this is yeah. They also got 14 digs from Steph Kins, and then Catawba did not have any double-digit diggers. George Mason actually had 38 digs to Catawba's 24. So there you go. All right, now jumping back to Sunday. So Sunday, other than the Fort Valley State matchup, UC San Diego swept Rockhurst. The first conference matchup actually happened as UCLA swept Concordia Irvine. Long story short, UCLA didn't have too much trouble with this matchup, as Zach Roma led the way with 11 kills. Michael Wong Diallo added 9 kills on 11 swings. He hit 818. Sean Kelly had 8 kills. As a team, UCLA hit 472. They had 12 service aces to only 11 service errors. So the last time UCLA had more service aces than service errors was 2 years ago when they played Morehouse. So that's a rare sight you will see. They got 4 aces from Andrew Rowan, 5 from David Decker. So overall, that was just how dominant UCLA was. Concordia Irvine had 4 service aces, only missed 6 serves. They only had 2 blocks as a team, and they only hit 182, as the Golden Eagles were led by Tyus Corneliuson, who had 10 kills. Logan Whitaker added 9 kills. Unfortunately, it was just not enough, as the Golden Eagles succumbed to the Bruins of UCLA. So that pretty much does that. And then I guess some other few matchups to make note of. Purdue-Fort Wayne beat NJIT in 5, as those poor NJIT Highlanders, they fell to, I think they're 0-5 on the season, which is 0-5 or 0-4. There was also another notable matchup. It was, I think it was Rockhurst taking down Concordia Irvine in 5 on Saturday. It was one of those matchups. It was either Friday or Saturday, but yeah, I do remember Rockhurst taking down Concordia Irvine. It was on one of those days, but that was a pretty solid win. Some people thought that was the first upset of the year. Well, I beg to differ, just because I don't really consider unranked versus unranked matchups upsets unless it's like a team receiving votes losing to a team not receiving votes. So hope that makes sense. And yeah, but yeah, where's the no, Merrimack? Anyway, that's pretty much that right there. But yeah, Rockhurst did take down Concordia Irvine in 5, which was pretty awesome to see. I thought that was a nice little match right there. I mean, yeah, here it is. It was on Friday. So let's check out that matchup, and then we'll move on to the ABCA coaches poll for this week. So yeah, Rockhurst pulling off a win in California against Concordia Irvine. And yeah, Rockhurst actually wound up winning on a walk-off block, which was unbelievable, as Lucas Tran led the way with 20 kills. So he and Ryan Lewis were the first 20-kill performance players of this NCAA men's volleyball season. Shea Spadaro added 17 kills. They also got 9 kills from Aaron DeRoy. Rockhurst hit 261, but Concordia Irvine hit 287, as the Golden Eagles had 7 aces to 24 missed serves. They had 10.5 blocks. Rockhurst had 12 blocks, and they had 8 service aces, which was pretty nice, as the Golden Eagles were led by Christian Galapo, who had 15 kills. Logan Whitaker added 13 kills. Nathan Habermas and Tyus Corneliuson added 11 kills. So nice little bounce right there in terms of offense. They almost got 5 different players with 10 or more kills, as Paul Schultes added 8 kills. But unfortunately, it was not enough for Concordia Irvine. I'll be seeing the Golden Eagles sometime in the future. We shall see. All right, now that's that for the NCAA Men's Volleyball Week 2 recap. So now let's jump on into the AVCA Men's Volleyball poll for this week. So new poll this week as we got ourselves, still number 1 is UCLA, and then number 2 is Long Beach State, and of course the NCAA would direct them to the website, but yeah, Long Beach State is number 2. Hawaii is tied for number 3, as well as Ohio State and Penn State tied for number 5. Lewis had the biggest jump as they went up to number 9, so they are a top 10 team, which I think is pretty darn cool if you ask me. USC still has the first place vote, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. Loyola went up 1 spot. Even though UC Irvine wound up winning in strong fashion, they swept all 3 of their opponents. They actually went down a spot, so oof. And then George Mason, even though they lost to unranked Catawba, George Mason is still in the top 20, which I'm a little surprised at, but I guess it's still pretty early. So that one was kind of the one that threw me for a loop. But overall, I'm not really one to judge the AVCA polls, but I will say the AVCA still needs to get its NCAA men's volleyball show as a 6 rotations-esque show. I'm still going to ask them, and I'm still going to pester them. I don't care what it takes. Anyway, back to the poll. So yeah, Stanford also dropped out of the top 10, still in the top 20 overall. Again, I think that was more so them being rusty as opposed to them not being as good as Lewis. But Lewis is a diamond in the rough team, like I mentioned. I think they're going to be a real solid threat in that ever so challenging MIVA. But we shall see what happens this week. BYU stayed put. UC Irvine is still in the top 5. Or I'm sorry, they're not out of the top 5. And USC is still in the top 5. And I don't know about you, but here's my question of the day: do you all think that ties should belong in the AVCA coaches poll? I'm not too keen on ties. I think you should find some way. I mean, I think a tiebreaker should be either flipping a coin or just doing something of that sort. But I don't know about ties. It just means that I have to go down the list and so on and so forth. So anyway, but that is that for the AVCA poll for this week. So now let's jump on into week 3 of the NCAA men's volleyball season, as week 3 will actually have the First Point Collegiate Challenge as the headline event for this week. So looking at Monday, there was only one match that happened today. So Barry of Florida took on Warner of the NAIA. Jumping to Tuesday, we don't have any notable matchups. We have Roosevelt and Lewis, number 9 Lewis, but that's pretty much it. And then on Wednesday, we have a ranked versus ranked matchup. We have number 18 Princeton at number 6 UC Irvine. This is the matchup I'm hopefully going to attend. Oh, I'm sorry, not number 6 UC Irvine, number 7 UC Irvine. This is the matchup I'm hoping to attend. I still have yet to hear back from the UCI SID, but knock on wood, hopefully that'll be the case that I'll be attending. Also, Long Beach State is heading to Ohio for its 3-game road trip. They play Central State on Wednesday, and then they've got 2 matches at The Ohio State on Friday and Saturday, but more on that later. And then on Wednesday, Hawaii has a doubleheader. They've got Robert Wesleyan, and then also later on they have Rockhurst, which kind of bleeds into Thursday's matches. So Thursday you have number 20 George Mason playing tied for number 13 Ohio State. George Mason's going to have an interesting bout with this Ohio State team. Again, we don't know what the severity of Liam French's injury is. This isn't the NFL where you have to report injuries. But George Mason, if they don't have Liam French, then it's going to be an uphill climb trying to take down Ohio State. But if they do have Liam French, then that is a feather in their cap. And then also number 5 USC plays at Vanguard, which heaven knows if I could try to attend that matchup, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'd have to pull some strings and reach out to Vanguard's SID, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Friday, remember that doubleheader that Hawaii had? They have another doubleheader. So they're playing Rockhurst and Roberts Wesleyan on Wednesday and Thursday twice. So that's really interesting. But I kind of see why, just because Hawaii, I think, wants to get all their players in the action, and they kind of want to evaluate on where everyone is at. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Actually, I think it's on Wednesday and Friday. So I think they just don't want Friday matches or back-to-back matches on back-to-back days. That's 4 matches in 2 days, which would be very tiresome. But I digress. Anyway, yeah, it's on Friday. So Friday is Roberts Wesleyan and Rockhurst facing Hawaii in 2 different matches. But jumping up to Friday, you have number 2 Long Beach State playing George Mason at the Ohio State. So it's Long Beach State's first visit to Columbus since they wound up winning the national championship last season. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. I only wish Liam French was healthy, but we'll see. Maybe George Mason can make it interesting, but I just don't see how they'll be able to handle the likes of Long Beach State. Also on Friday, you've got number 10 UC San Diego at number 8 BYU. The 2 teams also face each other on Saturday, which I think is going to be a really good matchup. Let's see how really good UC San Diego is. I think the Tritons definitely have potential, but I want to see what they can do in Provo. And then Friday, I think we have the match of the week right here. We have number 7 UC Irvine playing tied for number 3 Pepperdine. This is going to be a fun one. So a team that missed out on the NCAA tournament just barely takes on a team that made it all the way to the Final Four. This is kind of going to be the litmus test of where UC Irvine is at following the A6 Invitational. They got two good matches this week. They've got Princeton, which is going to be their first, I wouldn't say challenge, but their first ranked opponent. And then they've got Pepperdine, which I think is going to be a really big test, especially since it's going to be at Pepperdine. And then also on Friday, you've got number 18 Princeton. Speaking of, they play at number 5 USC. If I wasn't busy, I'd go to this matchup. But USC has got back-to-back matchups, so that's going to be a little bit tiring. But I think the Vanguard matchup is kind of a case of they needed to schedule something just because they got a lot of MPSF matches and they can't even play everyone twice in one season. But but it is what it is, and USC will have back-to-back matches against the Lions and the Tigers. All they just need to do is face the Bears, and then we could all say, oh my. Anyway, so Saturday, you've got number 2 Long Beach State tied for number 13 Ohio State. All right, this one's going to be an interesting matchup. Ohio State is well known for pulling off these early upsets. So if I were everyone, I would keep an eye on Ohio State, Long Beach State. Your best friend will be the Big Ten Network. Or I'm sorry, not the Big Ten Network, Big Ten Plus. It should be on the Big Ten Network, but meh. But look, I think Ohio State definitely has a shot at Long Beach State. If Long Beach State plays kind of like they did against McKendree, if they have that match against McKendree, I don't know if they can win. But Covalli Center is definitely a place that they're all too familiar with. So we'll see what happens with that Long Beach State match. I definitely think Long Beach State can win, but I would not be surprised if Ohio State beat them just because those Buckeyes have a lot of talent on their team, being led by Shane Wetzel. Also on Saturday, we have number 9 Lewis playing tied for number 13 Penn State. This one is going to be a very fun matchup. I think it was last year. It was either last year or the year before where Lewis wound up pushing Penn State to 5. And I think they also beat him last year, but that was at Lewis, which I don't think anyone predicted. But this one's going to be a fun matchup. This is going to be another one of those litmus tests for Lewis to see where they're at, and this is going to start a little bit of a long streak of really good matches for Penn State. They got some darn good opponents because next week they play McKendree twice, which is going to be the real test of is Penn State deserving of being a top 15 team. And like I said, Saturday is UC San Diego BYU round 2. So you have that right there. But now for the coup de grace of week 3. You've got the First Point Collegiate Challenge. So the first matchup is number 6 Loyola Chicago playing Stanford at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. All these matches will be played at the Phoenix Convention Center, or is it the Arizona Convention Center or Phoenix Convention Center? Either way, it's going to be played in Phoenix, Arizona at the Phoenix Convention Center. It's going to be a very fun matchup, and I really think that's a really good start to the First Point Collegiate Challenge, just because Stanford's one of Stanford's players, not Glenn Litsky, but Glenn Litsky's son. He's obviously going to be playing with a heavy heart, so it's obviously going to be a heavy heart matchup for little Litsky. But that's an interesting matchup. I hope Stanford comes a little bit more prepared. I wouldn't say prepared, but I think they need to come a little bit less rusty, if you ask me. I think they really got to come fully prepared for this matchup, because Loyola is coming off of a big upset win. But this could be a letdown spot for those Ramblers. That being said, I think the Stanford team is going to be up for the challenge. They like to play in this little, I wouldn't say this little tournament, but kind of a round robin. But overall, I think we're in for a good matchup right here. I think this is a great matchup, and don't be surprised if wait a sec. Oh, this is club sports. What? Anyway, for Stanford, I think this is going to be a very, very fascinating matchup, if you ask me. I really think Stanford has the potential of going 2-0, but they also can go 0-2. So we'll have to wait and see which Stanford we get. I mean, they're probably the biggest. They are probably the box of chocolates team. You never know what you're gonna get, because you never know if we're gonna get certain players like for instance, they actually started Kai Schmidt over Evan Porter. So that's really fascinating, if you ask me. But overall, I think this is going to be for Stanford Loyola, it's going to be a very fun matchup. So do keep an eye on that. Anyway, that is pretty much that. But speaking of little Litsky or son Litsky, he's not on the roster. Am I missing something here? Very good. Anyway, but yeah, Stanford will be playing with full hearts, just because they always partake in First Point Collegiate Challenge. So it's going to be a very, very emotional match and a very emotional weekend for those Stanford Cardinal. And I guess little Litsky isn't on the roster, or Glenn's son isn't on the roster. But I digress. Nathan Litsky, that's his name. So Nathan Litsky graduated. So he was a senior on the 2024 team. So my mistake, everybody. Forget what I just said. But yeah, I feel bad for Nathan Litsky and the entire Litsky family. But moving on. So next matchup we have from the First Point Collegiate Challenge is number 1 UCLA taking on number 16 Ball State. So this match will be at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. All right, I want to see what Ball State can do against an actual ranked opponent. And I want to see what UCLA could do in this whole collegiate challenge event, just because it seems like UCLA finds ways to lose to the MIVA opponents. Last year, they lost to Ohio State. The year before, they lost to Ohio State. Let's see what the gutty little Bruins can do against Ball State, just because Ryan Lewis had himself a monster week. You also got Patrick Rogers as well. So you have that as well. You have those two to contend with as well. And then on Sunday for the First Point Collegiate Challenge, you've got number 16 Ball State playing number 11 Stanford. Again, I think Stanford could definitely win this matchup, but if they let Ryan Lewis and Patrick Rogers go off, then they could forget about winning. Stanford's going to really need to come prepared when it comes to this matchup, just because they're not fully leaving the Pacific West Coast, but at the same time, they're going to start to face some more of these MIVA opponents, and these MIVA opponents are scrappy. But now that they got a taste of what Lewis can do, I think they now know what to expect when it comes to Loyola and Ball State. And then closing off the First Point Collegiate Challenge is number 6 Loyola Chicago playing number 1 UCLA. You could argue that this matchup is match of the week, as well as Pepperdine UC Irvine. Take your pick. Anyway, but this is going to be a fun matchup just because John Hawks faces his former teams. Remember, for those of you that forgot, John Hawks used to coach the Loyola Ramblers men's volleyball team before coming on down to UCLA. So I think there's going to be a lot of storylines. We'll see if Loyola can keep up their amazing hot streak. But again, it's a time will tell process. UCLA is going to get challenged, and no pun intended, but UCLA is going to get challenged fully. But I think playing McKendree kind of got their feet wet. I think Ball State also is going to be a good little litmus test. So a lot of good little storylines for this week. And then one trap game matchup that I think can possibly be a trap game matchup is Princeton versus UC Irvine. Now, if I recall, I don't think Princeton started off its men's volleyball season. And after this, we'll go to a commercial break. But if I recall correctly, Princeton, I don't think has started its season. But they love to go to, they haven't started their season, even though they did play against Canadian opponents in Toronto, Canada, or Canada in particular. But Princeton loves to start off their season with a West Coast road trip. They've got UC Irvine and USC, and they've got Concordia Irvine, and then they head back east at home. So yeah, I would not be surprised if Princeton kind of gave UC Irvine a trap game matchup, just because that is their first prove yourself matchup. But I think UC Irvine will be prepared for that. I don't think UC Irvine's going to be looking too far ahead. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with UC Irvine, Princeton. But I'm hoping to be there. You already know your boy's going to do everything in his power to try to attend that match. All right, but that is that for the NCAA Men's Volleyball Week 3 preview. We're going to take ourselves a commercial break. When we come back, we've got some MLV, LOVB, and VLA to recap. So keep it locked here. You were listening to Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
And welcome back to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows on our network on our podcast network. And also definitely check out our website. A lot of new things happening. 2026 is the year of IE Sports Radio. But let's get on into the pro volleyball side of things. So we got to recap the first week of the MLV. So the first match we had was Columbus Fury and Atlanta Vibe, as well as San Diego Mojo and Omaha Supernovas. So we'll go in chronological order here. So we had Columbus Fury taking on the Atlanta Vibe. So I thought that the Atlanta Vibe were going to, I wouldn't say clobber Columbus, but I thought they were going to win. But I apologize to the Columbus Fury. I was not familiar with your game. Also, by the way, the media poll for the media poll projections of the standings came out the day after I did my show last week. So typical. Let's actually just go do that. Let's actually just recap the poll on who everyone projects will finish where. So anyway, the Orlando Valkyries are the heavy favorite not heavy favorite to win, but they're the favorite to win the whole thing. They actually they finished with 46 points. They got 5 first place votes. The Omaha Supernovas are right behind them with 43 points. They got 3 first place votes. But other than that, no one else got a first place vote, as the Indy Ignite were slated to finish third with 39 points. Atlanta Vibe got 27 points. They were picked to finish fourth. Grand Rapids Rise was picked to finish fifth. They got 24 points. The Dallas Pulse, the MLV's new team, they were picked to finish sixth. They got 21 points. The San Diego Mojo got 15 points. They were picked to finish seventh. And the Columbus Fury were picked to finish eighth with only 9 points. The preseason all-league team is as follows: Leah Edmond of the Atlanta Vibe, Lecator member Monet of the Indy Ignite, Azani Teeler of the Indy Ignite, Brooke Nuneviller of the Omaha Supernovas, Morgan Hentz of the Omaha Supernovas, Brittany Abercrombie of the Orlando Valkyries, and Champu of the Orlando Valkyries, or Champu Gudapard, but we all call her Champu. Anyway, that is that right there. Now let's move on into the week 1 recap. So Columbus Fury, Atlanta Vibe. again, I apologize to the Columbus Fury. I was not familiar with your game. The Fury took down the Atlanta Vibe on the road in 4 sets. 23-25, 31-29, 25-23, and 25-19. I did not expect this. I thought the Fury were going to get dusted off, personally, if I had to predict. But Raina Terry led the way with 27 kills. She was just on fire. The former Illinois standout was just on one. They also got 11 kills from Megan Courtney Lush. They got 8 kills from Reagan Pittman, 9 kills from Teran Rodriguez. Oh, and overall, this was a very good win. They hit 221, but they held Atlanta to only hitting percentage of 159. So yikes. And that's not how you want to start off the season, Atlanta. Oh yeah, and for the Columbus Fury, they got 22. Or no, they got 19 digs from Courtney Lush. They also got 14 digs from Alexandra Jedic. Yeah. Jejic. Yikes, that's a tough name to pronounce. Anyway, Atlanta, they were led by Leah Edmond, who had 16 kills. They got 11 kills from Aiko Jones, 9 kills from Pia Timmer. In terms of the dig department, they were led by Jones, who had 16 digs. They also got 13 digs from Britt Rumpelberg, 11 digs from Pia Timmer, and 12 digs from Leah Edmond. My takeaway for this matchup is this. I did not expect the Fury to win this matchup. It was at Gas South Arena in Atlanta. I was very surprised that the Fury wound up winning this matchup. And it shows that polls are nothing but a number and nothing but numbers and statistics and projections. But good job to the Columbus Fury. They finished last in the standings last year. Now they could be on the up and up. Next up, you got the Omaha Supernovas hosting the San Diego Mojo. Long story short, the Chi was rocking, and Omaha swept the San Diego Mojo 25-23, 25-21, and 25-16. The Supernovas, I'm just going to say this, they might have a super team. I sing nothing but high praises about Omaha. This team is stacked. You look at some of the players they got. They brought back Sydney Hilly after she went to the Indy Ignite. They still have Brooke Nunaviller. They have Nora Sist, who will eventually get into the fray of things. They have Reagan Cooper. They've got Morgan Hens. They got Sarah Wilhite Parsons, who led the team with 17 kills. They have Elise Getzinger. They got Layla Blackwell. They got Emily Londot. This is a very stacked team. They also got Merritt Beeson, who I think, if I recall, she was like the number 1 or number 2 pick from the Atlanta Vibe. I think she was the number 2 pick. But this team is stacked, dude. And this team cares for one another just because some players took a budget cut to make sure that none of the players were released. And you know who their owner is, John Cook, the former Nebraska coach, or one of their owners. I think he's the co-owner or the GM. But anyway, this Omaha team is very scary. I know they're going to be really good. Last year, I think, was kind of a case of the number 1 seed still can't win the whole MLV/PVF playoffs. But now that this whole MLV and PVF thing is gone, I think the Omaha Supernovas can stay fully focused. Anyway, so now for the San Diego Mojo. The Mojo, they were led by Grace Sloberg, who had 9 kills. She also had 10 digs. Kayla Caffey added 8 kills as well. As a team, San Diego only hit 179, while the Supernovas hit 263. This, long story short, this was kind of a mismatch. I know the Mojo did everything in their power to try to make the first set, to make it close in the first set, but I think losing that first set kind of was the domino effect for this San Diego Mojo team kind of going downward. So we had that matchup right there. Jumping to Friday, we had a barn burner of a matchup. We had the Orlando Valkyries taking down the Grand Rapids Rise in 5. This was the Valkyries' first match since they wound up winning the Match for a Million match against the Indy Ignite. So the Valkyries wound up winning the match 25-20, 21-25, 20-25, 25-23, and 15-4. So, yikes, that fifth set was just one-sided. As leading the way for Orlando was Brittany Abercrombie, who had 24 kills. 22 kills also were added to Charity Looper. She had 22 kills. She also had 25 digs, so she had a 20-20 match. Chompu added 46 assists to go along with 17 digs. This team was digging it really well. This felt like a Big Ten matchup because Orlando had 107 digs. 107 digs compared to Grand Rapids' 85. Oof, yeah. But I talk about Omaha being stacked. Orlando's pretty stacked too. Charity Looper, they got Chompu, who's arguably the best setter, along with Hilly. You got Brittany Abercrombie, who is definitely good. They brought back Kaz Brown. I thought she retired. Anyway, they have Kaz Brown. They got Natalie Foster. They signed Hannah Maddox. So remember how the Vegas Thrill is not going to be part of the MLV this year? Without the Vegas Thrill, Hannah Maddox went from the Vegas Thrill to the Orlando Valkyries. That is what really makes this team so good, because Hannah Maddox is just so talented. They also got they have Colby Neal, Bree Kelly, like I mentioned, Natalie Foster. If she gets on a serving run, she is so tough to stop. They got Lindsay Vanderweide, Courtney Schwann they brought back, and so on and so forth. So, but the fact that they needed 5 to beat the Grand Rapids Rise, I think that might have been a case of probably championship banner night, and Grand Rapids really wanted to spoil the party. But either way, I think Grand Rapids, they gave it a good effort. They're going to be an interesting team. I think they're kind of in the mid-range tier. They're not the greatest team, but they're not the worst team. As Grand Rapids was led by Isabeth Ine, who had 19 kills. Carly Snyder added 11 kills. Paige Romine Briggs added 12 kills. For Grand Rapids, they only hit 181. But Orlando hit no better. They hit a whopping 189. But still, those 107 digs. Jiminy Christmas. Again, felt like a Big Ten matchup with all those digs. But I digress. So you had that matchup right there. Then Saturday, you had the Omaha Supernovas taking down the Columbus Fury in 4 at Nationwide Arena. So long story short, I'm a little surprised Columbus took a set off Omaha just because Omaha is stacked. But all these sets were close. You look at the match. This match, I think we're all underestimating the Columbus Fury, because we all got to remember that Columbus, if we all remember their first season, their home opener, they beat Omaha. I mean, that was like 2 years ago, but still, it just goes to show that maybe this year is a little bit more wide open than normal, but I don't know. Was this at it was at Nationwide Arena. So I think they this whole thing is kind of misguiding, but I digress. Anyway, but Omaha, they were led by Brooke Nuneviller, who had 19 kills, as well as Sarah Wilhite Parsons. Parsons also had 13 digs. Nuneviller also had 18 digs. Merritt Beeson had 13 digs to go along with 7 kills. As a team, Omaha hit only 202, while Columbus hit 161. Omaha also had 79 digs compared to Columbus's 70 digs. As the Fury were led by Megan Courtney Lesh, who had 12 kills, while Raina Terry added 11 kills, and Abby Walker added 10 kills. So kind of a little bit of a come back down to earth type of match for the Fury, if you ask me. But Omaha is still Omaha. This is a very stacked team. I would not want to cross this team in a dark alley. I would also not want to play them come playoff time as well. They're eventually going to have their letdown matches, but this team is going to be a freaking wagon. Just you wait and see. And then also on Saturday, we had the debut of the Dallas Pulse as they took on the Indy Ignite. This match was played at Comerica Center in Dallas, Texas. But unfortunately, the Indy Ignite wound up taking down the Dallas Pulse in 4, 25-27, 27-25, 26-24, and 25-20. Good debut for Dallas regardless, even though they unfortunately did not pull out the win, as they were led by Sofia Maldonado Diaz, who had 16 kills. They also got 12 kills from Mimi Collier. As a team, Dallas hit 232, which was pretty good, but they only had 46 digs, which is not the most ideal stat ever, as their dig leader was Natalia Valentin Anderson, who had 17 digs. Meanwhile, for Indy, they didn't do any better in the dig department, as they had, is that a 6? Yeah, that's a 6. 62 digs. So they did much better. They had 62 digs, as the Indy Ignite were led by Azani Teeler, who had 19 kills. They also got 10 kills from Lekator member Benet. It is so great to have her back. Last year, she missed pretty much all of the season, which sucks. I really feel bad for her. Maybe she could have been the key for the Indy Ignite, maybe, but I can't really fully confirm that. Anyway, Kayla Lund also had 9 kills. Mia Tuanigo was the one that ran the offense, along with Anise Havili. Anise Havili. Either way, Indy kicked off its season, its second year with a win, while Dallas, they have a lot to look forward to. Unfortunately, they didn't get the win, but they still have a lot of encouragement for this season, and I think they definitely can build off that. Next up, we head back down to Gas South Arena, where the Atlanta Vibes swept the Grand Rapids Rise. So one of these teams was going to be getting their first win of the season, and Atlanta was able to do so. Nice little bounce back after losing to Columbus in their home/season opener, as the Vibe were led by Leah Edmond, who had 20 kills. They also got 12 kills from Pia Timmer and 10 kills from Anna Dixon. Dixon also had 11 kills. They also got 13 digs from Britt Rampelberg, and then Timmer also had 14 digs to lead the team in that category. So overall, Atlanta hit 370 while holding Grand Rapids to only 210, as the Rise, which unfortunately fell for a second straight match, were led by Elizabeth Ine, who had 12 kills. They also got 10 kills from Paige Romine Briggs, or Paige Briggs Romine. Unfortunately, it was not enough, as it doesn't look like they did not have one player in double digits in terms of digs. So, yikes! Got to get those digs when it comes to those matches. So a nice bounce back win for Atlanta. Unfortunately for Grand Rapids, they kind of had a rough week. And speaking of rough week, the San Diego Mojo returned home to Viejas Arena to host the Orlando Valkyries. Unfortunately for the Mojo, they wound up losing to the Valkyries in 4, 24 or 26-24, 25-16, 23-25, and 25-21. The Valkyries were led by Hannah Maddox, who had 15 kills. They also got 11 kills from Lindsay Vanderweide. Kaz Brown had 10 kills, and Brittany Abercrombie had 10 kills. Abercrombie also had 10 digs. They also got 17 digs from Champu, along with her 32 assists. Tedora Pusick, the libero for Orlando, had 15 digs, and Maddox added 8 digs. So here's my takeaway for the Orlando Valkyries. They don't need Brittany Abercrombie to go off every night, because she's going to have her clunker matchups. Or she's going to have her clunker matches where she hits in below 200, or she just has just an awful night. But honestly, I think for Orlando, they have so much depth on their team offensively. I don't think they need to worry about that by any means possible. And then they also got 5 service aces from the service ace queen herself, Natalie Foster. Natalie Foster is probably the most underrated on this Orlando Valkyries team. She definitely has a lot of upside to her team. Anyway, so for the San Diego Mojo, they're led by Hayden Kubik, who had 11 kills. They also got 10 kills from Giovanna Brakovac. And then Grace Loberg added 9 kills along with 16 digs. She actually led the dig department with 16 digs. And then Marley Monsterey added 13 digs along with 38 assists. So there you have it. That is it for the week 1 recap of the MLV. Now for week 2. So week 2 starts on Wednesday when the Columbus Fury plays at the Grand Rapids Rise. Battle, all right. Well, if Grand Rapids really wants to win their first match of the season, this would probably be the match to do so. I definitely think they definitely have a good shot, but Columbus has really defied they've really proved everybody wrong. So if Columbus plays like Columbus Fury from 2 seasons ago where they almost made the postseason, this team can definitely do some damage. And this team can definitely catch a lot of teams sleeping on them off guard. But if we get the Columbus Fury that was last year's Columbus Fury team, I think Grand Rapids could finally get their first win of the season. But it's a time will tell process. Then we jump to Thursday. We have the San Diego Mojo heading down to Big Dallas to take on the Dallas Pulse at Comerica Center. All right, this is the case of someone's going to get their first win of the season. The Mojo have 2 matches under their belt, while the Pulse have only 1. I think the Pulse definitely have a chance to win, but the Mojo are pretty darn good, if you ask me. I mean, Mojo and Pulse are kind of on the same tier, the kind of below mid tier, the below mid, but knocking on the door of being mid tier. So I think for Dallas, this would be a good chance to get their first win, but especially with how encouraging they played against Indy. But you can't underestimate San Diego. San Diego is kind of one of those weird teams. But if I were a predicting man, I'd probably predict Dallas to win. And then on Friday, we have the Atlanta Vibe heading down to the Chi Health Center to take on the Omaha Supernovas. This is the classic rivalry between the Vibe and the Supernovas. This was before the Orlando Valkyries got really, 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 really good. All right, so the Supernovas are 2-0. Vibe could probably be 2-0, but they lost to the Fury. So if there's ever a shot of Atlanta, if there's ever a trap game for the Supernovas, this is it, because they have a very important match. Well, all their matches are important, but they have a big-time matchup on Sunday, which you're about to see why that this game can be a trap game. So keep an eye on that matchup on Friday. Saturday, we have the Indy Ignite playing at the Columbus Fury. Well, Indy has only played 1 match on the season, so if there's ever a concern for the Ignite, it's that they only have 1 match under their belt as opposed to the Fury having 3 matches under their belt. We shall see what the Indy Ignite can do. I think Indy is definitely as good as advertised, even though they do have a little bit of a new roster. But Columbus, I think, Columbus has the home court advantage. But we'll see how good that can we'll see how much that really proves if Indy can actually play up to their potential. If Indy doesn't play up to their potential and they're rusty, Columbus can catch them on an off night. But until then, I can see the Indy Ignite winning this one. And then Sunday we have a doubleheader. So the first doubleheader is going to be on CBS Sports Network. All the other matches that I made note of are on the MLV's YouTube page. So this matchup on CBS Sports Network is probably the perfect match to put it on. Orlando Valkyries at Omaha Supernovas at CHI Health Center. This one could be a preview of the MLV Championship or the match for $1 million. Man, this one I think is going to be a blockbuster matchup. And this is the reason why I think the Atlanta Vibe matchup could be a trap game for Omaha. Because Atlanta is pretty good. The only problem is that Omaha is just way more stacked. But this is the battle of the 2 stacked teams between Orlando and Omaha. Which one is the more stacked? Is Orlando going to be the one that comes out on top, or will Omaha protect its home court? The thing for Omaha is that they've only played 1 road game, so all their matches have been at CHI Health Center or Chi Health Center for the most part. But this one can go either way, personally. I mean, I think Orlando could win this one, but Omaha just has way too much talent on that team of theirs. If I recall correctly, I think Orlando beat Omaha. I think both of these teams split their matchups. If not, Omaha won 1 more match than Orlando. But this one's going to be the start of probably the rivalry for this season. And then also on Sunday, we have the Atlanta Vibe heading down to Viejas Arena to take on the San Diego Mojo. So that one's going to be on the YouTube page of the MLV. So, look, I want to give San Diego a chance to win, But I just think Atlanta just has a little bit too much firepower on their team. Maybe San Diego can catch Atlanta just because Atlanta will be traveling across the country. Plus, the Mojo will have a little bit some more matches under their belt. That being said, Atlanta also will have some matches under their belt as well because they'll have faced Omaha and they'll be road tested as well. Just because when you play Omaha, you are getting the full road experience. All right, but that is that for week 2, the week 2 preview of the MLV. Jumping to the LOVB recap of week 1. All right, so week 1 was a thriller. It was a barn burner. We had a really good matchup to start the season. We had LOVB Austin outlasting LOVB Nebraska in 5. So a lot of these matchups are going to be played on the USA Network. If not, they'll be played on ESPN Plus. If not, they'll be played on ESPN2. If not, they'll be played on that exclusive on Victory Plus. But this matchup was such a thriller. It was such a good matchup, dude. As the LOVB Austin wound up beating LOVB Nebraska in a 5-set barn burner. Just bravo to both teams. That was just absolutely amazing. So I couldn't be more proud to call this one the season opener. And I think this was the whoever decided to make this the season opener is a genius. They are an absolute genius for making this matchup the first matchup of the season, because this was a rematch of last year's LOVB championship match, as LOVB Austin was led by I don't know. Why is there Anyway, LOVB Austin wound up winning the match. I guess I should make note of the set scores. 22-25, 25-20, 22-25, 25-22, and 15-9. That 5th set was kind of an unfortunate case of, sadly, Nebraska kind of ran out of gas. But it looks like the box scores aren't fully updated, because I'm seeing a lot of these players with only like a few amount of points, so I can't really give you the full rundown. So this must be the set 1 stats on the whole match report thing. So thanks, LOVB. No, I'm kidding. I shouldn't say that. But anyway, my takeaway for Nebraska is this. Don't worry, it's the first match of the season. This team is going to be good. This team has a lot of upside to them. I don't think this team is going to be. I think this team is going to build off last year's championship run. I think Austin will probably be the hunted, just because everyone's going to be gunning for them now that they're the reigning LOVB champions. So you have that matchup that was played on the USA Network. And then you have LOVB Salt Lake sweeping LOVB Houston 27-25, 25-19, and 25-20. Once again, the box scores on this PDF is not doing me any justice, so I can't really go over the standout players. But this was on Thursday. So that first matchup between Nebraska and Austin, that was the Wednesday matchup. This was a Thursday matchup between Salt Lake and Houston, which Salt Lake swept and protected their home floor. And then also on Saturday, we had LOVB Madison kicking off their season with a sweep over LOVB Salt Lake. So this might have been the case. This might have been the case of. I'm looking at this box score wrong. This is one weird box score. I'm just gonna throw that out there. So in terms of points, dude, this point chart is so weird. It's like, okay, here's the official points. Maddie Skinner had 20 points. Maddie Banks had 17 points. Asia O'Neill had 11 points. Isabella Bergmark added 9 points. It doesn't look like we're getting their kills, which sucks, dude. Oh, God. What are these? I guess it's like different in professional leagues because you don't have kills, but I digress. But for LOVB Nebraska, Kimberly Druniak had 26 points, while Emily Thader added 21 points, and Jaylee Winters added 14 points. And then Candelaria Herrera added 10 points. All right. So the box score when it comes to the whole thing is a little different. So it's going to be something I am going to need to get used to when it comes to covering LOVB. But anyway, LOVB Salt Lake was led by Alexa Gray, who had 21 points. Serena Gray, don't think they're related, added 19 points. And then Claire Hoffman, 12 points. And then for LOVB Houston, they did not have one player cracking double-digit. Oh, actually, no, they did. Jordan Thompson had 18 points. So you had that matchup right there. Sorry if I'm kind of skimming through these. It's like we are like dragging this out. Just because I got confused with the box scores. But why can't these box scores be like the NCAA? Anyway, but yeah, LOVB Madison. Now let's recap them. Madison swept Salt Lake, which was a good win for them. Gong Zhangyu led the way with 15 points. Temi Thomas Ilara had 10 points. Callie Schwarzenbach added 11 points. I remember that Callie Schwarzenbach player. She played on Long Beach State for 1 year for Tyler Hildebrand. Anyway, LOVB Salt Lake had 9 points from Serena Gray, 8 points from Roni Jones-Perry, and then they got 6 points from Alexa Gray. But that was pretty much that for LOVB Salt Lake. I think that was kind of the case of, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what to really say. I don't really know what to really say about that. I mean, you would think that would have been the case of, I don't know. It's just a case of week one craziness. I don't think there was ever a poll for this. So, again, maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it. But yeah, Madison, I'm not surprised Madison kind of won that one. I think Madison might be kind of better. They won't have Annie Drews because she is in the pregnancy stage. But I think Madison should still be good as they were last year. Will they eye pop everybody? Will they be popping eyes? We'll have to wait and see. But Salt Lake, I think this was the case of playing back-to-back matches. I don't know. Maybe it was the case of back-to-back matches, but I can't really fully confirm. So from what I'm seeing, it looks like Madison was the home team, and then Houston was the home team. So there you go. And then Sunday, we had the doubleheader of all doubleheaders. We had LOVB Nebraska taking down LOVB Houston in 5. I think that was the case of Nebraska not wanting to start 0-2, as LOVB Nebraska was led by Ani Buhis, who had 18 kills. They also got 18 kills from Anna Carolina da Silva. They got 17 kills from Jordan Larson. That I will talk in a little bit. But Jordan Larson had 19 points. Oh, wait, no. She had 19 points off serve. Total points altogether, she had 17 points. Kim Druniak had 15 points. And then for Houston, they were led by Jordan Thompson, who had 23 points. Jess Merzick added 21 points. And then Amber Igidi had 14 points. So jumping over to Austin versus Atlanta. So LOVB Austin took on LOVB Atlanta. This was the case of the season opener for Atlanta, as Austin was able to take them down in another 5-set barn burner. Austin was led by Maddie Skinner, who had 17 kills. They also got 13 kills from Maddie Banks, 11 kills each, 17 points. 17 points from Maddie Skinner, 13 points from Maddie Banks, and 11 points from Asia O'Neal and Logan Eggleston. And then for Atlanta, they had 25 points from Tessa Grubbs. They also got 13 points from Tia Jimerson, and then 10 points from Magdalena Yelashrova. So my takeaway for Atlanta is this was kind of the case of first match jitters, and they were facing the reigning champs. But it looks like Austin has never met a 5-set match. This is going to be the case of Austin has never met a 5-set match they haven't liked. But it's still early in the season. So looking at the standings, Austin is in first place at 2-0. Madison is 1-0. Salt Lake is 1-1 1-1. Nebraska is 1-1. Atlanta is 0-1, and then Houston is 0-2, unfortunately. So now we jump on into week 2. So week 2 won't be as busy as week 1. So on a bye this week will be Houston and not Atlanta. Houston and Salt Lake. Sorry, I'm not. Oh no, the thing kind of forgot this whole timer thing. Wrong one. Here we go. So yeah, Salt Lake and Houston are both off for this week. For Wednesday, you have LOVB Austin playing at LOVB Atlanta at OTE Arena. That's going to be on USA, the USA channel. And then Friday, you have LOVB Nebraska at LOVB Madison at Alliant Energy Center. And then on Sunday, you have the youth volleyball night with LOVB Atlanta playing at LOVB Nebraska at Baxter Arena. That is the youth volleyball night. The Wednesday match is We Wear Pink night. So that's nice. That's a nice little thing. I guess and the match of the week will be Austin versus Atlanta. So the Battle of the Ace. So it's interesting that Atlanta versus Austin is going to be the match of the week, just because both those teams just played one another. So you have that right there, and I think that is going to be a very, very fun matchup, if you ask me. So definitely do keep an eye on that matchup, and definitely do keep an eye on LOVB. So that's going to do it for the LOVB portion of the show. Before we get on out of here, we have to recap the VLA. So this past weekend, I tried to stay updated, but unfortunately, I couldn't. So your winner of the West Division Cup on the men's side is the Phoenix Ascension. They went 5-0 on the weekend, and they wound up winning the West Division Cup. They only dropped one set all weekend. So the Phoenix Ascension really did some damage this week. Unfortunately, it does not look like their website kind of posted the results. Oh, yeah, all they just have is the schedule. That's kind of inconvenient. They need someone that can have a box score, or at least post the box scores, or at least post recaps of everything. So it is what it is. But look, the VLA isn't really made of money. They don't really have the money or the budget. I mean, they're fortunate to have kind of a partnership, hand-to-hand partnership with USA Volleyball. So the Phoenix Ascension went 5-0 this past week and wound up winning the West Division Cup. So the VLA actually hinted towards something in the post. They said, that marks the final West Division Cup of the event season, but the work isn't done out west. More matches are still ahead as teams fight for points, positioning, and momentum on the road to the VLA Cup. So you're probably wondering what that means. They're not done with the West. You also got to remember that the whole VLA Cup or the VLA Championship is going to be played in Las Vegas, which I think is pretty darn awesome. So you have that right there. The Women's West Division Cup was won by who is this team? The Arizona Gila Monsters. Oh God, these teams are really interesting when it comes to the VLA. So the Arizona Gila Monsters wound up winning the women's side of things 2 weeks ago. So the women's apparently the VLA started last weekend and not the weekend before. I don't know why, but yeah, that's just how it is, and I'm not going to judge it just because I don't cover this a whole lot. But that's going to be my goal. I got to cover this a whole lot more, and I got to be more careful. I got to be more on it when it comes to this season. So it is what it is, and yeah, that is pretty much that. So the next event when it comes to the VLA is going to be back south. Where is the next event? So yeah, the West Division Cup was at Ottawa University. You also got to give a shout out to Ottawa University for canceling the little grass volleyball event to supporting the VLAs. I think it's pretty awesome. But yeah, that is pretty much that for the first event of the VLA season. Volleyball League of America. Got a lot happening this past week, and apparently there's like other teams that haven't partaken in the VLA season. So a little bit, we still have yet to scratch the surface when it comes to the VLA. There's a lot of the VLA is tough to follow, but once you get it down pat, it gets really easy. You just got to keep on following it. So got to keep following it, and your best friend is Instagram. They run their thing on Instagram, and you just got to remember that. So that is that for the VLA. Yeah, I'm going to try to be a little bit more proactive when it comes to posting about the VLA, or whether it's in my story on Instagram or whether it's on X. It's just really tough just because, well, for starters, it's like they love to collaborate with a lot of these teams and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it's still going to be a fun season, and their next event is, can we get a drum roll, please? So the next VLA event is going to be this weekend. It's the North Division Single Match 1. This is the Tier 1. It doesn't look like it's showing anything. So it's going to be at Wolcott College Prep in Chicago, Illinois. So it looks like the Chicago Icemen are taking on Swedes. So I think it's pretty nice. So it's the Chicago Swede. So it's like, I guess it's like a 2-match little round robin thing. And then the week after that is the Central Division event. No, Central Division 1. So the teams haven't been announced yet. And then the following week on January 31st is the East Division event 2 for Team 1. The teams have yet to be announced. So I guess for this week, we just got to keep an eye on the Chicago Icemen and the Chicago Swede, which I think is pretty nice if you ask me. So keep an eye on this. I think as long as it goes one match at a time, I think I can keep up with that. If it goes like multiple matches at a time, it's going to be so tough to like follow everything. Like tournaments are like so tough for me to follow, because if I fall behind on one match, I'm going to fall behind on all of them, especially since I have to balance out NCAA men's volleyball, and I'm going to matches. And soon I'll be having to cover NCAA beach volleyball, and soon I'll be covering high school volleyball, and soon I'll be covering the 3C2A in men's volleyball. So there you have it. So, but again, I'm going to do my darndest to try to keep up with the VLA. All right, that'll do it for the VLA portion of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. Longer episode than normal, but I had to cover all this volleyball. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have a great rest of the night. Enjoy all the volleyball action. I will see you on Wednesday, knock on wood, for Princeton UC Irvine. And by the way, buy your tickets for the First Point Collegiate Challenge at Phoenix Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. Don't get left out. Don't be like me, who's not going to be attending. I really wish I could attend the First Point Collegiate Challenge, but unfortunately, I don't have access to travel accommodations, let alone hotels. So unfortunately, I'm going to be missing out on the First Point Collegiate Challenge unless I get a Hail Mary miracle. But I digress. Enjoy all the volleyball action this week, and I will see you Wednesday at UC Irvine. Peace!
Yeah.